I couldn't find a single Patrick McDonough review on BookTube, and I did a pretty extensive search. Hi, my name's Michael, and today I'm going to rectify that by doing a review of Missing Person by Patrick McDonough. This was translated from the French by Daniel Wolfsburg. And Patrick McDonough has won many literary prizes in France, and in 2014, he was a recipient of the Nobel Prize in Literature. And what the Nobel Prize said when they gave out the award was, I'm going to read this from my phone so I get this correct, for the art of memory with which he has invoked the most ungraspable of human destinies. And that's a beautiful thing to say because it kind of leads into my review of Missing Person. And this is my first of his novels, and I wanted to read it because not only had he won so many awards, not only had he won the Nobel Prize for Literature, but he seemed like someone I would really enjoy and someone I really needed to explore. And Missing Person was the perfect choice for me because it has two elements I look for in literature. It has a pulpish noir sort of style, and it has philosophy. And French philosophy is always interesting for me, but I can't call this hard-boiled literature because the main character is not very hard-boiled. I'm going to call this existential noir. And the reason why I'm calling it that is because it has this very cinematic approach. It's very much like a French film noir. It's got those dark alleys, and you often find the character in a cafe or drinking some wine or having a cigarette and all those kind of cliches, but it feels very French and it feels very film noir with the darkness that goes on. And that darkness is kind of enhanced by the story because the story follows a man named Guy Roland, and that's not his actual real name. It's the name he was given to him by his employer, a man named Constantine Hurt. And he ran a detective agency but decided to retire. So Guy decided he's going to take on one last case. He's going to take on the ultimate case for him. And that's the case of finding out who he is. He lost his memory in the war and he's never been able to understand who he is. He kind of describes himself like a blank slate and unsure of who he is, and this is why I call this existential noir. It's a mystery trying to solve identity, and I think that's a really interesting approach to the pulpish type genre, but also with the reference to the Nobel Prize and what Patrick McDonough has done for memory and identity. That kind of really ties in really well with this. So this is a fairly simple story, but it is almost poetic at times. It has these short, sharp sentences that really work for the novel, and it has this kind of angst that flows through the novel where this character is trying to find out who he is, trying to understand himself, and he goes and finds people that may have known him in the past by little glimpses of memory he has, and he tries on these personalities, he tries on these people that have been described to him and see if it fits, see if it sparks anything, see if it he's the person he's meant to be. And I really love the way he plays with this whole idea of identity and trying to understand himself. And wiping the slate clean is really questions things like, are we going to be the same person? Do the people we meet influence our personality? Do we find our own character again? Say, if I lost all my memory and I had to start all over again, would I be so obsessed with literature as I am now? And things like this, what I'm questioning while reading this book that questions the ideas as well. And I love that about this book. I think it's fascinating. And while it does talk a lot about identity, you've got these ideas of memory and how memory is not always as it seems. There is a scene where he remembers having this love affair with this woman, and 15 years later he makes contact with her again, and he's got this memory, but she denies it ever happened. And you begin to wonder, is this memory something that is honest and true? Is it a reality? Has he distorted the truth? Or maybe has she blocked out the past and decided to change who she was and she didn't want anything to do with that memory ever again? Or is it a combination of the both and he might have had emotions for her but she never knew that he had these feelings? There's all these different questions that keep getting asked, and I love that about this book. I think it's not really a plot driven book. It's not really a book you're going to go, wow, this is fantastic, but it's a book that's going to get you thinking. It's going to invoke an emotion. It's going to sit with you for a while and you'll ponder these type of questions, and I think that's what makes a great book. I love a book that stays with me after I've read it, and I think this book, Missing Person by Patrick Modiano, has done that, and I really appreciate that. I love the style. I like the short sentences because it felt like it packed more of a punch, and that's something I really enjoyed. Definitely going to have to read more of his books. I think he's a author that obviously is not getting talked about on BookTube, but he's an author that I feel like I'm going to connect with because he is asking these interesting questions, and I'm not sure what other books to read of his. If you've read anything, let me know. I know he's written a book called Honeymoon, which is about suicide, and I think that one's going to be something I'm going to check out soon. But if you've read Patrick Modiano, definitely let me know what you think of him. And as always, you can find me on social media, and thank you for watching.